Trainz fans. I am VS6415, and today I am driving the CEMR locomotive consist that used to run on the Windsor and Hantsport in the early 2000s. And we are approaching a random... What switch was that? Oh, I think... Anyway, this is the Dominion Atlantic Railway route extension version that has been extended from Kentville up to Kingston. And this route goes all the way up to Yarmouth. It is Nova Scotia, Canada, if any of you are wondering the location. It's the old Dominion Atlantic Railway. It was a CPR incendiary route, which was also a branch line. I believe it was in the sometime in the early 1920s, somewhere around there. It was built, maybe earlier, I'm not exactly sure, but it was in the steam era at some point, the early steam era. And it ran from Windsor Junction to Windsor, and then it also branched off from Windsor to Truro, and then it continued on from Windsor up to Yarmouth, and then from Yarmouth it continued on, which became the Halifax and Southwestern, which is a CN local branch line subsidiary that went from Yarmouth into Halifax. The entire length was something like over 300 miles. The entire loop of the western section of Nova Scotia. This route itself is just the Dominion Atlantic, which runs from Halifax. It runs from Windsor Junction to Windsor. Then it includes the Truro branch, which is completely unfinished and inaccessible, and then it goes up to Yarmouth, which you can't go up to Yarmouth because the line finishes in Kingston, which is behind the train at this point. This section is the new section that's going to be coming out in Trainz very shortly, once I get my ass together and get it finished, which is going to be this line still currently exists, but it exists as far as Windsor up to Hantsport. After Hantsport, the track is either been taken up in some places, heavily overgrown, or has been turned into a trail. Bits and pieces of the track have been removed closer to Windsor Junction. The line in its current state as of today is currently overgrown, heavily overgrown, some parts being extremely impassable, and the line has fallen into a decay and has not been in use since 2010. It would be November, I do believe. And the last train to run on that was the 2B23-7s that are currently still in Windsor, which are in terrible condition at this point because they have been unused and unfortunately subject to vandalism. However, the models are on Trainz, and also there are two HO models that I have had repainted that exist. It's unfortunate that the locomotives have been vandalized, and there's been a lot of vandalism on the train. The original gypsum cars, most of them are still intact in Hantsport and Windsor, and that is the only pieces of rolling stock that remain other than the coach and snowplow. There are other cars, but they are unusable. There are 3 boxcars in Hansport, or 4 boxcars in Hansport CP era that are just a wreck. So that's a brief little history of the route. We are going to be pulling into Colebrook here momentarily. And from Colebrook it goes to Windsor Junction, which this section has been, as you can see, it's been forested, but I still have quite a bit of work to do. Colebrook had a Apple warehouse. It still currently has an Apple warehouse. It used to be called Scotia Gold, which is on the left, and the Apple warehouse is on the right. And you can see the little signs up here. Yeah, it was a big apple industry in the valley. And up here, I believe, was a grain mill on the right. And we are not far from Kentville. There are some old photos in this area. But all this is authentic. It's about 85% accuracy. But you know, in Trainz you can't get everything perfect. There are things like trees and stuff I have to remove out of the middle of the track before this can be released on DLS. And this route will be available for download in the updated version probably by the end of the year. So you have that to look forward to. The speed limit on the route is 50. It's about 50 from Kentville to Windsor and beyond. And on this side of Kentville, the speed limit is 60. At least it used to be, and then it was reduced. All this is all trail now. None of this section exists. It's all been redeveloped. It's all a walking trail. I can't remember what the trail is called. There are bits and pieces of the track past Kentville that go on. I believe, I can't think of the name of the location. Up past Wolfville, in those areas there is still track in place. The track's been covered and turned into a trail, but the rail line is, or the rail infrastructure is still there. We had the opportunity to walk it. It's not bad. The tracks are still in place, which is nice. So the Dominion Atlantic Railroad, is one of the few branch lines that's still intact, and the owner is basically mothballed it for hopes of future development and business to come to the valley. But we have had no updates. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a history of this line. We'll be pulling into Kentville momentarily, and enjoy the rest of the video, as Kentville will be this train's last stop.